again, I want to thank, I don't know if it's Chiquita or whatever her name is.
Hey.
We know that it
Brian
was
didn't hear that
Robertson,
story.
that's all we know.
You don't have to hear that. He's good. We're good, Brian. You're all right.
But anyway, I want to thank Jeanette because she is definitely a help to me, and God has put her with me. She wonders why, but to help me to keep going, because I probably would have stopped too a long time ago. And she'll tell me to get up and preach whether I feel like it or not.
Amen.
And whatever. And so it tells me to keep going on when the doubt and the things try to attack me. And I see myself, as we read through the Old Testament, I see myself, how they doubted God. And one thing I learned, I never thought about it, because you had all the miracles and stuff, but you know, that's not what causes you to increase in faith. I didn't realize that. Because you know that the children of Israel had all those signs and wonders. And,
Yep.
and there was, and I forget where it was, but Jeanette and I read it. It wasn't the idea of the miracles. It was the idea of who believed what the Word said. Even if there wasn't the miracles, or if there was the miracles.
Yes.
They seen all those miracles, but yet they did not believe the Word of God. That's what the Scripture says. Had no faith with the you know, and that was full because of unbelief. And so I thought to myself, there's even in times you see miracles, but you can't base it has to be based on that the Word of God says this.
Yes.
And I guess what was it, Caleb and I forget who that one was that didn't have to die during the 40 years that went over into the promised land. But everybody else doubted. And to me, I'm thinking, Brian, I have never seen a Red Sea parted for me. I have never seen a pillar of smoke or whatever it was by day and a pillar of fire by night. I've never seen Pharaoh chasing after me and literally be destroyed. And they seen all that and still they didn't believe God. You know? And you wonder, boy, but we have to believe what the Word says.
Yes.
The Word says, you know, regardless and God does, how do I want to say, ratify or backs up with the signs and wonders, and we know that Jesus came and did the signs and wonders, but yet I thought that was real amazing that it was that they didn't believe the Word. It wasn't even that they seen all those signs and wonders, you know. Philippians chapter 4. I'm going to preach, if it's okay, I'm going to preach to myself because this is for me. You can listen in if you want. I'm recording this so I can hear it again. I hope I'm recording it good. I'm going to try to stay right here. I tried the camera a different way so that it gets my voice. I might even try. I'll try going a little closer maybe. I noticed that it sounds a little tunnely. Yeah, I think I'm good there. So if I stay right here, just back and forth, I should be good. I'll just move it just a hair. Just a hair. Philippians chapter 4 and verse 19. It says, "But my God shall supply all your need." The expositor says, presents the apostle assuring the Philippians and all other believers as well that they have not impoverished themselves in giving so liberally to the cause of Christ. So my God shall supply all your need according to his riches in glory. The measure of supply will be determined by the wealth of God in glory by Jesus Christ, made possible by the cross. The Bible says, given, it shall be given in Luke 6:38. When you give, you enter into God's economy. God will then supply all of your need according to his riches in glory.
Amen.
I have to hear that myself because we live in a time that you don't know how it's going. You're going to get less back from your income tax this year. You know? It looked good, but then they passed this law, tax law, that actually it gave you less. You're paying more taxes, even though it sounded good when Trump was running. It sounded good, but then when you look at it, it's not, from what I hear. I haven't done my taxes yet. So you're going to get less back. They said overall, they've done the statistics, and everybody's going to get less taxes back.
Yep.
because they took away some of the deductions and they took away some of the exemptions and whatever. And they lowered some of the things, and so you're going to get less money back. You may not have Social Security. So Brian, don't quit your job. Well, you got railroad retirement if Norfolk and Southern stays in business. You know, I say that jokingly, but you know what?
Right.
I've talked to some old people now who had retirement, and the one guy came in, and I forget what company it was with, and they were promised full retirement and everything. It amounts now, what did he tell me? Like $5,000 a year or something? I mean, they reduced it. I don't remember the exact amount, but they reduced it to where you can't live. And he said, well, we were some of them were promised health care. You work for Norfolk and Southern for 30 years and you'll have traveler's insurance. They still got travelers?
I don't know.
Oh, you don't know?
I don't work for.
Oh, you don't actually work for them, you work for another. But Norfolk and Southern had travelers, you know. But now I've talked to railroad people, and I had some railroad people, they said, oh, well, we don't have all those, like those old timers back there when your grandpa worked and all them. Yeah, those days are gone now, you know. That they've cut back, they've cut the salaries back, they've cut the insurance back. But we don't know. I may work for a company 30 years. I mean, if Ford goes out of business and there's no Ford there, then there's going to be no money coming from Ford.
Right.
You know? And as the new contracts come up, well, yeah, when you work, your contract was different because you were salaried, you weren't in the union.
No.
But if you were union, you had to, but this is what I've been told too. Well, when we were in the union, we were told that we would have this amount of insurance, but now they've negotiated and they just cut us out. You know, and I've had people, these are actual stories. I know another story of a person, close friend of mom and dad's, was smart as far, he worked in the bank. Worked in the bank all these years. Had bought a motor home, $100,000 motor home. Was going to travel. But his 401k bellied up. He's back working right now, by the way, and he's 78 years old. Said him and his wife both had to go back to work. You know. And so they had recounted on the retirement and the 401k. So we got to go to what the Word of God says. And the Word of God says, but my God shall supply all your need. I was encouraged by something that Bishop Van Buren and Linda Van Buren said, that they didn't really do investment. Their money all went into the church, but yet now they are on Social Security. But God's taking care of them. And so I have to tell myself, Mark DeWitt, God will supply all your need according to His riches in glory.
Right.
And there is the aspect of giving, you know, give and it shall be given. And that's not just with money, but it can be with time and things too. But you give to the work of the Lord. That's one of the reasons why, and there's times I wonder how we keep going here. I do. I mean, you know that we can't be a whole lot of offering. But we give to the different ministry, or to swagger some of the different ministries, you know. And I have to come to the place that this is God's problem.
Yes.
You know,
It is.
and not my problem. And sometimes we get into this thing. I just heard him preaching on that too, of being successful as opposed to just being faithful.
That's right.
People look at me. I look at myself. And sometimes I don't feel very successful. I know that family looks at me, and Mark isn't very successful. He kept that old church going, should have shut it down years ago. He's refused to change. He's not successful. You know, look at him. They go out there, we watch him over Marco Polo, and he only has a few people, not very successful, because when you're successful, you fill the pews, or the seats, or whatever. And yes, I have given up a lot of times. And you can ask Jeanette, there's been Sundays where I haven't wanted to come because I feel unsuccessful and I feel, I don't feel worthy. I feel insignificant, you know, inferior. And she's made me come. But I thought, you know what though? I've still stayed faithful. I've still come. I've walked out the door and I drove home a couple times. I did. Especially when there were things going on. And I literally walked right out of here and drove home. I turned around and drove back, you know. And so we've been faithful. Shanette has been faithful. And she's helped me to be faithful. And we're here. We don't have a huge amount. But it's God's problem. And if God would see in His wisdom that it would be time to shut this down, and then we will, you know. But we'll do what He has. That's it, snowing outside. I have the snow dive challenge. But I don't know if I'll be able to do it. But Malachi dived into the snow with just his swimming suit on. And completely buried in the snow. He just went head first. And he sent the challenge to me. It started with Elijah. And he dived into the snow. So Chris sent me a picture where I could dive off of their porch. I'd have to drive 12 hours to go do the dive. So I told Shana, I said, well, if it ends up snowing enough, maybe I can just pile it up or do a snow angel maybe or something. I don't know. Maybe that will work. It won't actually be the dive. But Malachi said, well, he told me I have to post it online then. You got to film it and put it on there. So we'll see. So if it snows enough today, I'll have Shanette out there with the camera. Maybe, like I said, I thought, well, maybe if I just may have to lay down and just do a snow angel or something. But God will supply all of your need according to His riches. And what's interesting is according to His riches. Yes. Not according to your riches or according to man's riches or any other standard. I guess the way I look at it is according to God's standard. You know, when you get Social Security, they go by your standard. They look at how much money you made. And they look, you know, and so it's kind of determined on that. So I kind of like it that my income is going to be based on God's standard. Amen? Yes. Matthew chapter 6. And starting at verse, now this one's for me. It's against worry and anxiety. You know, and my wife looked at me the other day, and she's like, you know that worry is sin. Yep. Anxiety is sin. Because it's easy to get caught up with this when you have bills and you got things. And, you know, in this day and age, there's a lot of insecurity. That, you know, people don't, it's not, we're in a different time now. My grandpa, my grandpa, my uncle, all of them, they worked for North Flock and Southern and worked there 30, 40 years. That was a job they got as whenever, you know, teens or morning. And they just had Bill Culp started at Ford when it opened in the 50s. He was one of the first ones there, my dad. My dad could have been there too. Dad, for some reason, I didn't remember the story. Dad didn't go work at Ford, but Bill did. And you don't know if you remember Bill Culp, that he worked there years and years. Uncle Mike, I remember when Uncle Mike started, you know, and he talked about being so sore because the engines came down the line and he had to do something where he pulled something out. They said something about painting, and he said it was hard to do. And he had to pull, and he came home, he was all sore, and he was all excited because it's the biggest, to tie them under one roof. It was one of the biggest buildings and they have their own water supply. And I was just a little kid. Matter of fact, he wasn't working very long, and Grandpa died, Pampy died, and Uncle Mark had to go get his check, and he took me into Ford. And I got to go in, but he was afraid to take me on back. And I had glasses, but they weren't, but he had to have safety glasses on. And he looked at one of his supervisors, and he said, well, I got him with me. I got to go get my check. And the supervisor's like, well, I guess you could look at it, and made Mike nervous, so Mike made me sit in there was a dress, or had lockers and stuff that I had sitting there. And he went and got his too. And then he worked there all his life. But now we don't have that. Things have changed and jobs end. Even with Ford, it went way down. You go over there now and the parking lots are empty. I remember going by and all them lots were full. The one in the back is nothing in it. Yeah. You go to the one in the front, and when we go over to Joe's church, I told Shanessa, it doesn't hardly look like anybody's working. There's just a few. And I remember going by them and it was jam-packed full, you know. So things change. What am I saying? It's easy to worry. Like I said, they used to put their trust in Ford, or they put their trust in North Flock and Southern, or they put their, well, it was nickel plate, you know, when I first started. But then even then, I remember my Uncle Wayne talking about the changes. They didn't like the diesels when they came out. They were steam engine. engineers. They didn't like them diesels at first, And they had to learn to change, And things changed. Lord, they did away with the cabooses. I mean, railroad don't have a caboose. I used to love to see the caboose come by. I got some old coil oil lamps that went on the cabooses. They got the red, and they hung on. We got them somewhere that Pampy had them, and we dug them out. And I remember when he was in the bed, his mind was slipping, and he was bedbound. But I remember, I said, Pampy, you remember this? And I held that up. And he looked at me, he smiled. He remembered what that was on, that he'd gotten that off the railroad when he worked on the railroad. Huh? That's how they signal and stuff. Yeah, it's different now. But therefore I say unto you in verse 25 of Matthew 6, take no thought for your life what you shall eat or what you shall drink, neither for your body what you shall put on it. So don't worry about these things. Is not the life more than meat and the body more than raiment? Life is more than these things, and the physical body is more than clothes we wear. And so it says don't worry about these things. It's really interesting that this was worded this way because these are the things I try to worry about. And I do remember Ford back in the 70s. Uncle Mike started there in around, Pampy died in 73 or 72. Mike was working then, but had just started. So he started late 60s, early 70s. But he was laid off for a year and a half, 2 years. Yeah. And he worried, how are we going to make it? How are we going to afford it? And his sub pay ran out, and Dad had the business then, and Uncle Mike went to work for the business. Made a lot less money, but he was able. And I remember, I'm talking, how are we going to make it? And so there are these worries. And we worry today, but the Bible says we don't have to worry about these things. Because then I look at people like Robert Tom, who I met, that didn't worry about nothing. And you wonder how they did it. God would tell him just to go get on a plane or do something, and he would just do it and not worry about it. And I got to meet this man before he went home to be with the Lord, I got to see him operate and not be worried about things, and just, well, God will send me here, and God will send. He put his, I never will forget that. We were over at Van Wert, and he wrote on his hand, and he went like this, thank you, Father. And I'm like, what? And he showed it to my dad, and Dad's like, yeah, forget that, He wrote like $1,500 on his hand or something to that effect. Well, those offerings never came in. And you know what? Dad was amazed. That amount of money came in the offering. And he had said, thank you, Lord. He needed that amount of money for his evangelical association, and so forth. And so I seen these people, and they just wouldn't worry, Sometimes I wish I had better genes, but we got worry on both sides. Behold the fowls of the air, for they sow not, neither do they reap, nor gather in barns, yet the heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much better than they? And it even goes back to the children of Israel, that God fed them daily to show them that he would take care of them. But he didn't want them collecting extra just in case he did. But I catch myself, well, I might have to do this just in case. The Bible says that you must believe that he is, and he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. And there's times I catch myself even believing that he is, believing that he can do these things. That's why I'm preaching to myself today. That's why this is being recorded, and I'll sit out here and I'll listen to it again, so I can preach to myself. Which of you by taking thought, which of you by worrying can add 1 cubit into your stature? Why do you take thought? Why do you worry about raiment? Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They toil not, neither do they spin. And yet I say unto you that even Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like these. Wherefore, since God so clothed the grass of the field, which today is, tomorrow cast into the oven, shall he not much more clothe you? And it says, oh, you of little faith, you of unbelief. He's speaking to me because I worry about, well, how am I going to pay this bill? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? And I'm just like the children of Israel. Because God will do it in the past, and even Jeanette will say, well, God did it in the past. Yeah, but what if he doesn't do it again? When the next Red Sea comes, maybe he won't part that one, and I have to have built a boat or something to get across it.
He might part it the same way, but he'll part it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
My God, it's just who he is.
So I see it now that just because God does things, our faith has to be in the Word, though, not in the fact that he even did it.
That's right.
Because like I said, look at the children of Israel.
Yeah.
If that brought about faith, and then they would have, because they've seen all these things, and yet they still didn't believe God. They've seen God miraculously feed and water them, and yet would still turn around and say, are you going to let us die here in this?
Right.
But then I think, look at me.
Yeah.
I've seen my bills be paid and see things happen. But God, are you going to still let me die, and I'm not going to be able to pay my bill? Am I not going to be able to fill my propane tank? Am I not going to be able to make the car payment? Am I not going to be able to get the old Ford truck fixed when it breaks down? Am I not going to... Don't we do the same thing? It's interesting this time reading through the Old Testament, how I see so much of myself. You know, and God was with them as long as they obeyed Him. And He would warn them. And it's so much the church today, they're being warned and warned and warned, and yet they go right into it. I'm like, how could you have been an Israelite? God said, do not go follow after their gods. And Brian, they went right in and followed right after their gods when they seen what the Almighty God did. But we see it in the church now. We see what God has done, and yet they're out after all these other things. Just man's nature don't change, does it?
No.
And they're out after all these other things now, after all these other gods. It's so easy. It's so easy to go into apostasy. You see how one judge would have ruled, and they would have been righteous and would have ruled the people. But even then, what that brings out then is the leadership. When they had godly leadership, things were different. But when ungodly leadership came in, hello, ungodly people behind the pulpit. We got some very, very successful preachers now. But are they preachers? But the church is so blinded. There's no dandy wits anymore. That's why I miss dandy wits so bad, because there's no dandy wits anymore. Well, what do you mean? He would sit and look at something and discern it. And I remember those days when everybody, kind of how Swigert says, everybody was against me. I remember everybody, even the great Assembly of God church, would say, well, this is of God. And Dad would sit there. Jim Gruball told me the other day that Dad gave him that look. I remember that look. But I remember him looking, he'd say, well, that's not of God. Discernment! But because somebody got up and put Christ on it, even be careful, they may even get up and put cross on it. But we better have some discernment.
Yes. That's right.
You know, Jim Gruball talked to me the other day. He says, Mark, way back when you were a teenager. I said, yeah, Jim, way back before your mustache was gray. He said, yeah, you're probably right. He says, your dad asked me to take up the offering. He said, do you want me to take it up or take off with it? Teasing him. And he said, when I said take off, I said, your dad gave me that look. He said, probably that same look that you got a lot of times. And he said, I knew I wasn't supposed to take off with it. I said, wasn't that where he kind of raised his eyebrows and had that beady look? He said, yeah, you're saying it, yeah, that beady-eyed look. I said, yeah, I bet he did give you that look when you talked about taking off with the offering. He just laughed, you know. But we have to believe God, and it's hard sometimes, and we have to believe what the Word says. We don't believe it because, you know what? Jeanette, I don't believe it, though, because my last electric bill was paid. I don't believe it because the Red Sea was parted. I believe it because the Word says it. I found out I can't believe it because of what I've seen in the past, because that didn't work for the children of Israel, did it? Well, yes, at times it will help build your faith when you see God work, but do you actually believe it because the Word says it? And maybe I'm not preaching this right, but I'm beginning to see it now. Because like I said, they said even though they seen all the signs and the wonders, they still didn't believe the Word. They didn't believe that God said, I will take care of you. Even though He took care of them and did it, they seen that, but their faith still wasn't in what God said. And I think, yeah, is my faith in what God says, what this Word says? And you got to be in the Word. You got to be in prayer. We have to be, as well, actually Roger Teal put this on Facebook just the other day. He talked about, have you been in prayer, seeking God for you and for those around you? Have you been seeking God? As I said, I talked about Brother Swigert, and I thought, well, I should do more of that. But he talked about being the times of prayer. to know what to do. And there are times that we go seeking out other people when we should just seek Him. Not that there's anything wrong with the, and like Bishop Van Buren said, and I agree, you got to have the fivefold. It's hard to find the fivefold anymore.
Yeah.
And evangelist does focus on getting people saved. Not that they will never teach or preach, but and the prophet does what they do, and the apostle does what they do, you know. And that's why I like to get the different ones to come in. Therefore, take no thought, don't worry, saying, what shall we eat, or what shall we drink, or where shall we be clothed? The Greek text actually means that even one anxious thought is forbidden. Such shows a distrust of the Lord. If you are anxious and you're worried, then you're not trusting. I mean, I'm talking to myself and I see it. What is going to happen? What if I lose my job? See, Dad prophesied to me, and it's kind of strange to it. It has always happened that way, though. But do I believe the word of prophecy, and do I believe what the word says? But Dad prophesied, and he said, you'll go from one job to another, and you'll lose one job, and right away. And that has always happened. Miraculously, every time if one job has come to an end, even though I didn't see the other job coming, the other job would open up. And so, according to the scriptures, God's going to take care of me. So that means that should I lose the job I have now, God will supply another one.
Yeah.
But I have a hard time believing that. So I get all anxious. As well, if I lose that job. What if there is no money? You know, most of us, you know, we talk about homeless people. Then you get seeing who these people are. They're lawyers and doctors. They're people just like you that worked on the railroad. They're people, but they lost their job and they're 1 month away from being homeless. And you think about that. So we have to keep our faith in there. Because most people, from what they say, the statistics, you're only a month or two away from being homeless.
I'm moving in with somebody. I don't even worry about it.
Well, I understand that.
Somebody
But I mean,
gonna move over.
but what I'm saying is you don't have, the finances aren't there to go on for much more than a month or two. But somehow we make it because God ends up supplying our need. You know, because I don't really want to go live with anybody else. I want to have my own, you know. I don't live with anybody else all the time. But we see how quickly it could happen. So we have to keep our faith there, knowing that God will supply that need. God will supply the need here. You know, and it's like, even here, sometimes people come and then God brings us other people and so forth and so on. And I'm believing, though, it would be nice, and we're going to continue to believe, that God will bring in other people here. It'd be nice to have people that know about this kind of stuff, that can film these and make them look nice and do all that. And I don't know how to do all that. And I don't want to take the time to learn how to do it and get the programming, but someone that has that, like the guy that we had come show us. I forget his name off the top of my head, but he was the telephone guy, and he just knows it. He does it for his church, and he puts it all together. He has the programming where he can take and add music to it, you know, make it professional, you know. And I thought, you know, and that would be a gift for somebody to do. That would be given unto the Lord. I was excited when they went behind the scenes one time at Brother Swiger's, and they even had people that worked in the movie industry who got saved, took a huge cut in pay, but were all excited about doing it for the ministry.
Wow.
And some of them had worked for Hollywood, had put these movies, knew how to do that stuff, and now are doing it for Him. That's how when you watch all those fancy commercials and stuff, somebody does that. Ain't Swiger doing it, you know. But and they count that ministry to sit behind the camera and no one ever sees them. Matter of fact, some of them were kind of nervous. Don't put me on camera, you know. And they sit behind the scenes, but they were saying, you know, how many hours it takes for each one of those services to be edited and to be, you know, of course some of them are live, but then they do stuff with them. And then they even have people that are sitting there all the time interpreting those services live. They're being interpreted live. I mean, as Swiger's up there preaching it, there's somebody in a back room with headphones. They showed them. They're in the back room with headphones on, watching, and they're interpreting as it goes out live over the air. You know, and these people were excited about it, though. to do something for God and to be used, you know. And I think, man, that's what we need for people here. We need to have somebody that's their thing, to do movies and to do films. And they're excited about coming here and taking the preaching that we do here and doing something with it, you know. People that have a music, it makes me mad when I see people with a music ability using it for the devil. It just makes me mad. Because I think because I don't have that. Boy, I wish I did. You don't know, man. I've come out here when you haven't been here. I imagine myself, and I wish I could. I tried it once, didn't work. Went right over to that baby grandma. Okay, God, give me the anointing. No, that's not it. That's not the anointing. But I think there's times I long within myself, man, to get over to that piano, and I mean just make that piano sing like it never sang before. You know, I sit there and I watch when Swigert does it. And even at 80-some years old, you'll still see, man, show up and down the piano and doing all those things, you know, and you're like, man, I mean, it's one thing to just pound out a song, you know, but man, when you can, I forget how they said it, Donnie talked about it. It's what made his piano teacher mad. Swigert took a couple of lessons, and they said that he added color to it. He'd well, teach, no, don't do that. Teacher said, don't do it. And Swigert just had it, you know, and he finally quit going because I think he said he took 2 or 3 lessons, but had his teacher all frustrated. And he demonstrated, so here's what she wanted me to do, and here's what I did. You know, and she didn't want that, you know. Well, God had given him that a gift, you know. And I think, man, to be able, or get on the guitar and just really play. I mean, I can barely pound out a few chords, and I can just sing, and I feel kind of good that I can do that. But boy, to really, I mean, just wear the neck out. I mean, just pop them. I mean, Alicia, when she plays that one, breaks the strings, you know. And wouldn't that be neat? And so when people have the gift and they don't use it, boy, that just, something within me just wants to smack them, you know. And I know that's wrong, but he wants to use it for God. Don't go play the devil's music. Don't go try to get some Grammy award. Who cares? You know, all them awards that Lucille Ball got are where? And where is she? I pray to God, this is my prayer, you know, I hope, I mean, she didn't appear to live a Christian life. But I would pray to God that, you know, maybe in her last hours or maybe somewhere along that someone spoke to her and she gave her heart to the Lord. That's one lady I would love to meet. But she had great success. I was just watching on Instagram. You can pull up and they got Lucy and they show the old clips and they show her up and she's crying and she's getting this award. Of course, Desi was dead by this time or whatever. And she was saying, you know, how the other one, and she was just, you know, all elated that they'd given her this award. But I thought, she's gone now and all that stuff passes away. You know? But what you do for the Lord will never pass away. We'll go with you throughout. How do you know? Because the Bible says your treasures are in heaven, so they're there. Everything you do on this side is going to stay here, right? Haven't seen anybody be able to take it with them yet.
Nope.
They try. For after all these things that the Gentiles seek, for your heavenly Father knows that you have need. He knows that we have need of these things, but sometimes I know, like me, I forget that He knows that I have need of these things. So God don't realize I got an electric bill. But then I guess I don't believe this. Like Shanette said, Mark, you don't believe what the Word says then. Because the Word says here that He does know that we have need of these things. So do we believe what this says? Or don't we? I guess I shouldn't say we. I'm preaching to me. Do I believe what it says or don't I? That's the question. But it goes on to say, but seek ye first the kingdom of God and His righteousness. This gives the condition for God's blessing. His interests are to be first. God's interests are to be first. And sometimes that's hard, and I see that now, even with Christians, that our interests get to be in everything else. And maybe, just maybe, because we're so busy doing what we are doing and building our kingdom down here and paying for our houses and our cars and going to college and doing better and making more money, that just maybe, I might just maybe, not all the time, but just maybe be able to give God an hour, no 45 minutes on Sunday. I'll come late and leave early because I'm doing my thing. Well, then God's not first. The Bible says to seek God's righteousness first. I didn't say it. Do you believe the book or don't you? Do you believe what it says or don't you? And I'm talking to myself too, because there's times that I've put it aside and saw other things. But the Bible says, in order to be blessed like that, you got to put God first. What can I do for the church? Yes, I'm doing all these other things. Here's an example. At one time, if you were in sports or whatever, if you put God first and you said, well, God's given me this sporting ability, well, then you should be in church first. So if the sports takes place on Sunday when you're supposed to be in church, then where ought you to be according to this? I'll let you answer that. Kind of reminds me of what something that Swigert said. He was given the opportunity to be part of some other record label. But they said, well, you have to keep the amens and the hallelujahs to a minimum. He says, people, you don't understand. You don't understand where it came from. That's why I have the amens and the hallelujahs, because it came from Him. And so why would I not give Him the glory of where it came from? And at one time there was a standard, but the Christians let down. Apostasy, children of Israel, Old Testament, relived again. We let down, and so all of a sudden, and I had to fight, because I said on Wednesday nights we're going to have church. Oh, well, we got this practice. You ought not to have it on Wednesday night, because church, according to what my Bible says, is supposed to come first. Yep. Hello? But now the church comes last. All of our other things come first. See, I was taught that by Dad, that this needed to be first. If you're working third shift, your sleep still don't come first. I say that because I know somebody that went on third shift. When you work third shift, I lived right the 2 houses down from where you live. Little house down there, that was my house. That was Uncle Mike's house. I rented it. And I went to bed at 8 o'clock and got up at 3. Well, church is at 10. Right in the middle of my night. But Daddy said, you should. So guess what Marky did? On the weekends, my sleep switched. Because church comes first. You're to be in church. You can go sleep in the afternoon. But I seen people who said that they loved God and said that God was first, wouldn't switch it around. Oh, well, I got to sleep then. Then don't tell me that you love God. Don't tell me that He's Lord and Master of your life. And don't tell me that you're putting Him first. Your job and your sleep's coming first. The job that He blessed you with. Oh, no, now there's rough preaching. I'm sorry, but I'm preaching to myself. But I was made to live it. Because Dad looked at me and said, I don't care if you work third shift. You change your sleeping around, and you've been in here, and he always said early. You'll be in here by 9 o'clock. Well, church starts at 10. You'll be here at 9. He even learned in the world that when you wanted something, you got there first, and you got there early. How do you think that I got the teacher that I had for my AMP? Can't remember his name. He's a preacher, actually. I can't remember his name. Everybody wanted him because he was a good teacher. And at Lima Tech at the time, first come, first serve. Well, guess what? So, registration started at 7. You know what time I was there? I was there at 4 in the morning. I got his class. There were people there before me. But I was number 4 or 5 in line. I asked these other girls, I said, how do you always get his class? Because we get her, I said, what time are you going to be here? I said, we'll be here by 4. I'll be here at 4. Got there, doors were locked. They had a custodian let them in. They knew I was coming, so they waited by the door and let me in. So we went up and we sat. Yes, I deprived myself of sleep. But I wanted something. So then I got in his, I was 5th, so then I got to pick that lab. Now there were people that came and said, oh, the lab's full. How did you guys get it? Well, you came at 8 o'clock. Yeah, I wanted to sleep. Well, I'm glad you slept. You missed out. The early bird got the worm. Well, Dad used to talk about if you want something from God, you get there and get it. That's right. He used to always say you sit up front. Yep. I always talked about the for you're sitting there in the back. Yeah. And And that's where Daddy sat. See, I seen it in his life, though, because when we went to other meetings, we were always early. And we always got close to the front. And something else he told me. He said, if the Spirit of God's moving and they're laying hands on people, you get up there. He said, I don't care if they've called for pregnant women only. That's what my dad told me. He said, I don't care if they called for pregnant women only. He said, if you need something from God and you see them up there laying and you see the Spirit of God moving, you get right there in the line with the pregnant women. And that's what he would do. He'd get right up there and get in line and have them pray for it. He said, you need to get them praying, you need to have that anointing. He knew how to go after it. Now, he applied it to natural things. Because when he played football, he did the same thing. And that's why he was supposed to be a good football player. But when he got into things of God, he knew there was a calling there, and he took it serious. And that's why I had problems sometimes, because I would still be around some of these other preachers, and I wouldn't see that. You know? Another thing that Dad taught me, he said it's rude to go somewhere late. Don't go telling someone you're going to preach at their church and get there late. Happened here once. Oh, I remember that real well. This preacher was supposed to be here and he was late. And my dad walked back there. He walked back and forth. And I started walking with him. He says, he'll never preach here again. This man has been rude to me. This man has disrespected me. And he says, now, and he told me, he said, now, Mark, I'm going to tell you what's going on in my mind. He said, I got people here for a service that are here ready to eat. And he said, the guy coming to feed them, I don't know if he's coming. So am I supposed to prepare? Because there's a responsibility to the people that are sitting there. And it comes back on me, but I'm not prepared to preach, really. But he said, and he actually did. He went back to the office and was preparing. And then the guy came late. Never apologized. Never even tried to call. And Dad said, I won't be treated like that. And I don't remember who the preacher even was. But I know they never came again. Because Dad told me that's being rude.
Yeah.
And nowadays, we have no excuse to be rude because we all have a cell phone in our pocket. Don't we?
Yeah.
And so if you know you're going to be late, that cell phone can be used for what the purpose it's supposed to be used for. And so and I remember Van Buren's came late one time. And it was a legitimate excuse. And I actually called them on the cell phone, and they thought that our service, they always tried to get here a little early, and in his mind, I think he thought our service started either 10:30 or 11. He'd forgotten. And they were, and he apologized, and he says, I don't like that. I don't go on somewhere late. We're always there early. He said, but in my mind, I think he thought it was going to be 11, and he was planning on being here by 10:30. And he ended up getting here still like 20 after. But he said, I apologize, I didn't realize that. Now, something like that, But some people, let me give you some words of wisdom. If the meeting you have to be at starts at 7, you don't start getting ready at 7.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here's how Dad taught me. You think about how long it's going to take you to get ready. You give yourself drive time, and then you also give yourself a margin for error, and then you're there on time.
Yep.
Because he used to see that. He used to see people not start getting ready until it's almost time to leave.
Yeah.
Dad used to say, you want to do good in church? And I hope I don't hit anybody, but I'm just going to say this. Dad said it, so you have to go dig him up. He said, you prepare for Sunday morning, Saturday night. I said, how's that, Dad? He says, you get to bed early. Said you go to bed early when you got to prepare for some big test, or you got to go to your new job, or you get to bed early, you get yourself all ready, you get everything ready the night before. But he says, I got people coming to church, even those who are supposed to be in ministry, that stay up till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, then they drag into church. Said you ought to be in bed early, get rested up so you can be at your best when you come into the presence of God. See, I was taught all these things. Then I started seeing people. Well, it's Saturday night, I'm going to stay out till the last dog's hung. And then they come in, and boy, they can barely drag in. They're trying to drink. I thought, well, you should have prepared. But that's showing me something. What you were doing Saturday night was more important than what you were going to do Sunday morning. Hello, I know it's rough, but it's truth. It's the rubber hitting the road. Come on now.
Amen.
Hello. Oh, I've heard people, well, I got to go take a test. I got to take state boards. I'm going to bed early. I'm resting up for it. They get to bed early to come in and do something for God. Don't sit up watching the boob tube all night.
Yep.
And getting filled with all the crap of the world. There ain't nothing on there.
Yeah. That's truth.
A lot of it and then the so-called Christians, but that's another one. Don't get me started on Medea. Ooh, don't get me started. I have no use for that, man. I'm sorry, but I don't. Don't get up and profess to be a Christian and have... The Bible talks about you're not going by the Bible. You're making money and Christians are flocking to you and Christians ought not to even be watching that man. That's what I say. I'd rather watch Lucille Ball, who tells me she's not a Christian, than to watch someone that says that they're a Christian and they're no more a Christian than there's a man in the moon. How do you know, Pastor Mark? Take the book and put him up to the book. You don't get up there in character and do all kind of cuss words and do all kind of foul stuff and try to say you're a Christian.
Amen.
And those that are true Christians in Hollywood, I've had them tell me that. The one that played Blair on that show about those kids that were in college. I can't remember the name of the show. Tootie played on it, the black girl, Facts of Life.
I didn't watch that.
They wanted her to lose her virginity. And she said, no, I'm a Christian and I will not even portray it.
Yep.
Tootie did it for him because Tootie didn't care. She was a Christian, wasn't a Christian, she didn't care how she... But Blair, the lady that played... I heard this, or I heard, this isn't hearsay. They had her on the radio over WBCL years ago, and they were interviewing her because she wrote, after she got out of Hollywood, she got set up, got out of Hollywood after a while. And she writes some Christian books or children, and they were interviewed. But she was saying, no, I had to make a stand.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to cuss. I wasn't going to cuss in character. Medea, I wasn't going to cuss in character. Medea, the man, what's his name? Tyler Perry or whatever. He needs to get saved.
Yeah.
He ain't saved.
That's right.
Now you can disagree with me or what, but take your Bible and line it up and then try to disagree with me. And what irritates me, don't get up and talk about my God and say that you're on the same, that you're a child, you're my brother, and that you're disrespecting my God. For what? For the almighty buck.
Yep.
And another thing, the man's liked in Hollywood. Red flag. Hello. And Christians ought not to be giving him the time of day. Oh, they will though. Oh, he's funny. Well, then you go do that. And you go support that. But you have to stand before God one day and you have to make account of what you did with your time and your money.
Amen.
And you won't stand before me. Now that's rough preaching. I understand it, but I'm like my daddy, Dan DeWitt, He said the same type of stuff. These awards and all these things, it's all politics.
Yeah.
And who cares? Now I like certain actors and I've watched movies and but I don't know. I guess it really infuriates me when someone they're trying to Christianize something.
Yeah.
Reminds me of Catholicism. Well, I'm a Christian in word. Someone asked that man, well, how can you get up? Well, because in character, Medea is not a Christian. Well, you ought not to be having it come out of your mouth. Hello? And there should be some Christians with enough guts to stand up. Oh, well, he's popular. Whoopee! He has money. Whoopee! Because he's going to die and all his money's going to burn. He's going to die in hell. Someone don't stand up and say, you need to be right with God. This isn't Christian what you're doing. But no one will stand up and tell him. Oh, because he's popular. We look at things even in the church. We're like, well, he has money and people like him and he's popular. So he gets up and says he's a Christian. Oprah Winfrey says she's a Christian too.
Yeah.
Lord, when they talked about her becoming a religious leader, a spiritual leader, I just about shuddered in my shoes. I'm like, really? She can't stand Jesus Christ. And don't tell me that because I watched the video where the woman stood up and says, no, Oprah, there's one way. And man, that flesh came up. Well, she's popular. Yeah, the devil let her have some stuff for a while, but one day,
That's right.
all that plastic surgery and all that stuff ain't going to do a bit of good because her heart's going to still stop.
Yep.
And all that money's going to be here. But was she rich toward God? That's the kind of preaching that we need. We need somebody with enough guts to stand up and say it.
Yep.
We need preachers behind the pulpit to bring some holiness back to the church.
Amen.
And yes, there's a lot of stuff in my own life. My wife's sitting there thinking, now, when you got this in your life, and you got, yeah, and I preach to myself too, and you preach to me too. But these things ought not to be. Really bothers me. I don't know why I'm on this, but you have Christians that will even go, oh, well, this guy's funny. He cusses every other word. I went to one of them one time. I can't remember who I was with. It was some guy that was supposed to be funny. And one of his whole jokes was being up inside the woman's vagina and seeing other people rip things on the wall. And everybody just dying laughing. And I'm saying, this is vulgar, people!
Yes, amen.
Where's the discernment? Where's the Danny Wicks of this day?
Mercy.
Oh, well, he's funny. Ain't funny to me. He's leading people to hell.
Right.
And what we do, we give all this money to these people, and we look at and we don't know their lives.
That's right. That's right.
Like they used to talk about Michael Jackson. I'll play Michael Jackson as the stupid people that bought all the CDs. Michael Jackson would have put a dog turd on his head and walked around with it. Half the, 3/4 of the teenagers would have went and found the dearest dog turd and put it on there too. Why? Because Michael's doing it. Really? Well, they would have. I mean, how stupid wear one glove. How stupid to wear clothes backwards. How stupid. How stupid to go around with your butt hanging out. How stupid.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Hello? Well, that's their culture. Then they need a different culture. They need this culture.
Yeah.
What are you saying, Pastor Mark? The Bible tells you how you're supposed to dress. I don't give anything about your culture. Your culture came from hell. I don't care what color you are. This is the culture you're in now. My Bible says that when you're born again, you're in a different family, different culture. Hello? Isn't that what it says?
That's right.
Are we preaching the word or what? Now I understand that there's things that they keep. But yet I've really battled with that too. Well, that's their culture. Well, really? The Bible says that he took the Jews and the Gentiles, two different cultures, and brought them together to a new one.
That's right.
So really you don't even hang on to the Jewish stuff, and you don't hang on to, but you're in a new one.
Amen.
The Bible says that Israel was given the Word of God to show the people, to be a light unto the people, how to dress, how to eat, how to act. Hello?
Come on. That's true.
So who tells you how to dress? Some pervert up in Hollywood?
No.
Come on now. Who's telling you how to dress? So it makes me mad when they come out with so-called, well, this is the style. And I'm glad sometimes I see people that just go completely against the style. That's why I don't like to leave one button unbuttoned. Because they say it's the style to leave one unbuttoned. Then I ain't going by your style. I'm on my own. I'm going to button both of them. Why? Because I'm me and I'm Mark. And I ain't following your style. I ain't going by, that's stupid too. You got two buttons. Why you only leave one? Because somebody sit in Hollywood somewhere and thought, oh, well, we'll just only button one button. And everybody just follows them. Where are the leaders? Where's the guy that says, I ain't going to follow, I'm going to button both of mine because I'm a leader. But do you see the discernment there? Even little things by this button and one button, we follow. And we follow. And we follow. And nobody leads. Nobody stands up. Therefore take no thought. I'm going to do it now because it's too hot. Therefore take no thought for the morrow. For the morrow shall take thought for the things of itself. Sufficient is the day of the evil thereof. This means that we should handle daily difficulties in faith and have faith for the future, that the present difficulties will not grow into larger ones. We have God's assurance that they won't. That is, if we will sufficiently believe Him. The Bible says you ask God according to the Lord's Prayer, which is our sample, our example. Give us this day our daily bread. I think that scripture goes along with that. Father, give me today what I need for today. Tomorrow will take care of itself. I'll ask you tomorrow. But see, with me, I start worrying about, well, what about tomorrow? What about Wednesday? What about Thursday? And God says, I just give you what you need for today.
That's right.
And we're showed us, like I said, it was demonstrated to us with the children of Israel. Daily. That God will take care of you daily. And it's hard. That's hard to do. Because I would rather Him give me a year's supply. Because then I don't have to have faith, do I?
That's right.
I don't have to have faith for that year because He gave me a whole year. But if He only does it daily, then daily. Choose you this day who you will serve.
Come on.
And unfortunately, sometimes I've been used mightily of the devil. Just choose you this day. Who's whispering in and telling you what to do? Boy, Dad got mad when Dad got in trouble when he preached that message. Oh, I'm never used of the devil. Well, it says choose you this day. Because I see God's children being used as the devil.
Yeah.
Who are you listening to? What are you giving into? Who's using you today? And there's times I have to say that I've been used of the evil one. I've yielded to him instead of yielding to God. So choose you this day whom you will serve. Amen. The Bible says, and we'll go through real quick as quarter to, the Bible says in Deuteronomy, He will never leave us nor forsake us. There's times we feel forsaken. We do. We feel like we're alone and we're forsaken. We're in this world where we don't fit in. I enjoy preaching. I don't feel like I'm the best preacher, but I do kind of feel like that's kind of where I fit in, even though I haven't had a whole lot of people like my preaching. How I preach today, I would have had a lot of people would never come back again. But we don't fit in this world. They want to go out, and anytime they want to get together, well, what alcohol can we have? So we can go out and make asses out of ourselves. We won't be under the influence of something, you know. What dirty jokes can we tell? You know, sometimes you're around and everything is made into something dirty. You got to be real careful how you even talk, because you got what they say, people's minds are in the gutter. And anything you said can be turned to be something filthy. That's the world that we're in. But that lines up with the scripture. It lines up with man's flesh, what man is. Man's heart is deceitfully wicked. His flesh is wicked. And so we don't fit in, as Abraham said that he didn't fit in. I am looking forward to that time where we'll be with him. You know, you get sick of this. All this turmoil in the world. But you know, I'm going to say one more scripture because, well, let's go to Colossians 1:17. I got to come back to this sometimes. Colossians 1:17 says, well, you know what? He created all things, for by him were all things created there in heaven and earth. And it says he was before all things. He was pre-existence before all this world was created. And then it goes on to say that, and by him all things consist. All things are held together. The earth will never be destroyed. It can't be. God has placed it in. It will be changed at some point. And even I had somebody question me on that, and I did do my research. And where it says, it talks about at the end time, and it's going to be changed. But in the Greek it says it will not be destroyed. There'll be a renovation, a change take place. But this earth was created and will always be. And the way the planets are all held. God was before all this. And then he created it. And I like when I looked this up, and I looked up this word consist, and it says held together they cohere. He is the principle of cohesion in the universe. He impresses upon creation that unity and that solidarity that make it a cosmos, an ordered system, instead of a chaos, an unordered system. He spoke it, and the planets are not going to collide. The earth isn't going to be destroyed. And everything is, and God is in, the way I look at it, God is in control of everything.
Amen.
He's in control of Russia. He's in control of Korea. It's His creation. Now He allows things, but He's in control. And I'll be glad because you see all this chaos and all this stuff, and you see the United States getting more and more wicked.
Yeah.
The United States has gotten more and more wicked, partly because there wasn't preaching like today.
Yep.
I'm going to say it.
It's true.
There wasn't preaching that said that ought not to be, you ought not to be doing. There's not righteous preaching.
It's true.
To the point that you got women standing up and demonstrating an abortion right. I mean, you got to be kidding me. Standing up with their fists in the face of God. Abortion, abortion, abortion. We will abort these babies. They put it on Facebook. This guy was a Christian outside of an abortion clinic, and this doctor came out and started speaking in a different voice to him.
Wow.
Demon possession. And saying how he loved to kill them babies. I'm a baby killer, and I love it, I love it, I love it. And he started hissing at him. This doctor. You've seen that. And the guy says, men must be demon possessed.
Yes.
Well, will women have rights? You don't have the rights to kill the baby.
No.
But you know what? Women, you want your rights? You won't have a baby in there that you don't want if you do what the Bible says. Now, I know Dr. Adams from over in Lima will disagree with me. Because he has a degree in sociology. I get to see his ugly face every now and then on TV because he reviews these movies now, you know.
No, man.
But he was my sociology teacher. And I wrote something similar to that, and it was about AIDS or something. And I said, well, we wouldn't have all this stuff if people went by good moral values. He gave me a little grade on the paper, and I don't remember exactly what he said, but the gist of it was how stupid I was. I'm stupid, and if I tell you go by the book and you don't have sex with every Tom, Dick, and Harry, then you won't have a disease.
Come on.
Come on. It's true.
That's right. Amen.
Baby, women, there won't be a baby in there if you don't go and have sex with the guy.
Come on.
Hello? Won't need the abortion.
Nope.
And then God is the one that ordained that when man and woman come together, there's a baby, there's a life, so you're killing them. And you're aborting these babies to the point now that it can be a full-term baby and they can abort it and just let it lay somewhere. And we got those in Congress that are for this.
Yes.
Oh, I pity this United States. I've asked the Lord, I said, what are you going to do with us? The Bible says you're going to take care of us, but man, there's going to be judgment come at some point.
Has to.
Would be kind of neat that if lightning just came, this is my own opinion. Sometimes I'd like to see lightning come down and Washington, D.C. just disappear. Let's just start over. White House is gone. Congress just got evaporated, you know. God's going to show them who's the boss. Well, wouldn't that be something? Yes, I know that's just out of my own thinking. Maybe it wasn't the perfect Christian idea, I guess. But sometimes you're so wanting to see God move, God show these people, these intelligent people. Well, they say they're intelligent. Educated fools of who
Amen.
He really is.
They are.
Yep.
And man, you can't have anything to do with God, and it's sad. They're trying to take, in God we trust, off the money. Lord, how stupid can they be? They're electing Muslims to Congress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They want
Yeah.
to kill you people,
I know.
They do.
and they're allowed to lie. Hello?
They're communist.
Yep.
But as more and more get in, they're going to make the laws, and guess where we're going to be?
Come on.
If God don't move, we ain't going to be. We better come and assemble while we can and enjoy it while we can, because it may be a day
Yep.
that this will be illegal.
That's right.
Who would ever thought of it in the United States? California right now is trying to pass laws where they are allowed to have Christian books and things, and Bibles and stuff. It's like, oh my, what have we come to? But it's because we don't have the preaching that we need. Oh, God just wants you to be happy. And so there's no standard anymore.
That's not in the word.
No, God doesn't say He wants you to be. Some of them weren't so happy.
That's right.
Jonah wasn't so happy for a while.
Yeah.
But you know, I was encouraged when I read about Noah again. In Hebrews it said that by faith,
Yes.
Noah built that ark.
That's right.
He didn't see anything. People, think about it. There was no miracles. All he seen was dry desert. That's all he seen. For between what, 50 and 100 years. They're not sure how long. 50 to 100 years. All he had was the Word.
Yeah.
God told him. That's all we have is the Word. I thought about that. And I thought, oh God, I have to confess my sin because I won't believe you unless I see you do a miracle. But I don't believe because your Word says it. But Noah believed it. Would I? Probably not. I want to see a miracle first. I want to see at least a few storms come up and see some water before I look like a fool out here and build this ark. Can you imagine? And I think about that. Man, that man looked like a fool. Can you imagine what they must have been saying about him? Can you imagine? They say that about us. We're fools.
Yeah.
We believe the Word. We believe we have discernment and we say things. They look at you like, I talked to them one time about the spirits behind rock music, and they're looking at me like, and which planet did Scotty just beam you up from? You from the planet Vulcan? They don't believe it. But we know.
Yeah.
And now Noah knew. But there came that day. And then judgment came. And what's interesting is, after a certain point, it was too late. So God sealed the door.
That's right.
And I worry, or I shouldn't worry. But I do think about, well, what's going to happen to these United States if we continue doing what we're doing? And we continue to have laws that say you could kill these babies and stuff. Continue to have these laws. And now they're talking about the guns again. Democrats, Pelosi just came out. I watched it, so it's not something it's not hearsay. I watched it. Pelosi said, okay, since Trump did an emergency to get this wall built, we're going to do an emergency as soon as the Democratic president came in, and we're going to take your guns.
Yep.
That's what she said. You can read it. Get right on Facebook and look. What's her name? What's her first name?
Nancy.
Nancy Pelosi's the majority leader of
Yeah.
the House.
She's going to be one
And
of
she
the
just
first
got
ones
on there and
to
said,
too.
we're going to do it. We'll have the Democratic president do an emergency and take the gun. Well, they're increased gun control because they're going to take the gun. We're not going to be able to defend ourselves. These are the people that are in government. And boy, sometimes it frustrates me. And you're like, how can they be so stupid?
Are drugs illegal?
They have an agenda.
Are drugs illegal?
But we won't be able to have them
No, think
legally.
about it. Are drugs illegal?
Yeah,
Are they rampant?
yeah.
Yeah, and as soon as they make guns illegal, only the law-abiding citizens will it affect.
Well, I understand
Because
that.
I know where I grew up, everybody had a gun, and none of them got
Well,
arrested.
we're still trying to figure out where that was.
Nonsense, that's right. Who knows? Who knows?
But God is our
So that's
defense.
not the answer. That's not the answer.
God's still our defense.
Amen.
It's not the gun sitting on the table, it's the person that picks it up.
Well, God, He
Yeah.
got Lot out of, because of the intercession of Abraham, got Lot out of Sodom or out of Gomorrah or something, what was that? And so God will take care of us. Now we do get all worried about dying, but hey,
It's not gonna work.
you know, if we go together, you know, if this whole building is this bomb, hey, Brian, in just a few seconds, we'll be sitting at the banquet table. And you won't hurt no more, and both of us won't have a gray hair.
Right, it'd be done.
I'll look a lot better than I do now. I look terrible, you know.
So why worry?
Because I never looked real good when I was younger, but maybe the Lord give me better looks, you know. But we'll just be in heaven and it'll be all over with.
That's
right.
And
That's
you
right.
say bombs, when they take the guns, there will be more bombs. Mark my word, there'll be more bombs.
Yeah.
There'll be more stabbings, there'll be more everything. It's in the people's hearts.
Well, they're
Change that
trying
if you wanna
to
change
do all
something.
this stuff though, but it's
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah, that's what's gonna happen.
It's sad what's happening. But we're not, but there again,
You'll be in heaven.
I come back to what Dad
That's right.
said.
So why worry about it?
Yeah.
Raptured
I
out.
come back to what
Amen.
Dad said, though. He's seen this stuff coming.
Yep.
And he
Yep.
said the reason it's coming, the church is no longer praying.
There's always a remnant, though.
There's a remnant.
Yes.
But the church as a whole isn't
Right,
praying.
as a
We're all
whole,
asleep.
we're not.
They're asleep.
As a whole, we're not.
Yeah.
God's still showing.
There's a remnant, yeah. As the
Yeah.
one,
Right.
who was it, Elijah, or
My
one of them
Lord.
said, well, God, and God said, no, I've retained myself, was it 5,000 or 7,000,
Right,
whatever,
yeah.
I forget.
Yeah,
the-
that's what he does.
Oh, there's a remnant, that's why we're here,
The
that's
enemy won't win.
that's what keeps, and I went through it, I'll just tell on myself, sometimes people can learn, but I went through a time where I didn't want to come to church, I didn't want to just come to a few people, but now I get so excited. And sometimes I think, why do I get so excited? But I do, and I can't wait to see you and see what's happening and preach a little bit and I get excited. I get up early, I get out here, I'm out here usually by 8 o'clock. I was here at 8 o'clock today. I'm usually here somewhere between 8 and 8:30, I'm here. And it gives me time to get into the flow of things. It gives me time to fuss at my computer for a while. That wants to sit there and not work and all that stuff. But I get excited about coming. I was excited about preaching this to myself. And the devil came out and said, "Was only going to be a few people?" I said, "Well, I don't care, devil, I'll preach it to myself." He said, "What happens if these other people leave?" I said, "Well, then they leave." The devil just told me that out in the hallway today. Well, you got some people there, but why don't they all leave you? I guess I'll just come out and preach to myself, or God will put me somewhere else, I don't know. But those are the thoughts that try to come. We had some people there, now they're gone. Yeah, they are. But this is God's problem. And I'm preaching it so I hear it, it's on tape, so I'm not going to listen to it again.
He doesn't see it as a problem, though.
Well, yeah, I know what I'm saying, but he's going to take care of the problems. He's a problem solver, is what I'm saying. So
Yes.
he'll solve whatever problems that there are.
Yes.
The point I was trying to, he takes care of the storms. and the
I see
problems.
this as a blessing.
Amen. But like the problems of the money, or the problems of things being fixed and stuff, I guess is what I was saying. The upkeep, and God will take care of that and bring somebody in or do whatever to
Yep.
take care of
He's
it.
got it.
But we do need to have it's a remnant, but we have to have the preaching, And I get kind of upset, even like we have excellent with Brian coming in, and people don't. And yes, when you learn and when you're studying, it takes effort. When I was in physical therapy, it wasn't exciting. It was drudgery sometimes. When you're learning something, there's something about preaching that is exciting in your preaching. But when you're doing more teaching and stuff, sometimes it does kind of dry, boring, whatever you want to say, because it takes labor. It's labor to do that. You're digging, And so maybe he's not up here shouting and screaming and being real excited, but yet we're learning some things, And learning what's going on, because people are so deceived, and people don't know.
Yeah.
And they listen to the TV.
Yep.
And they listen to what NBC tells them.
There's no discernment.
And they think they know it all.
Yep.
But you know what? You know how I know that it's false, fake news? Because I talk to people from the war. I've talked to people that have been over in Saudi Arabia and stuff. You know what they tell me? Mark, that's fake news.
Yeah.
They're not reporting what's going on. And they'll tell me, they said, that will never hit. They tell you what they want. It's propaganda to tell you what they want you to hear.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yep. Yep. So that you get scared.
I can do 10 things right and 1 thing wrong. And the news will have, for 2 hours, Pastor Mark DeWitt does this wrong thing. But all the 10 things I did right, we don't talk about any of that.
That's right. That's right.
They did that with Swigert even. All the things that he was doing, and yet there'd be times when they would focus, and he would say, well, what about, and they tried to say that it was, he had places over, and he actually brought people, had them come from, and tell that they're really there. The schools are really, and one reporter went over and supposedly went somewhere, well, Swigert says it's here and it's not. Well, I don't know if he's in the wrong place or what, but Swigert showed them. I mean, he had people saying, we have these schools, we have these things going on, But they try to sway you. They're not going to say anything good about Christians. Watch Hollywood.
That's right.
Christians are all bubbling fools.
Yep.
They're all weird. They're all out. Their minds are gone. Men, Good Lord, Brian, you can hardly find your way to the bathroom without your wife helping. No, not your wife. You need your 12-year-old daughter to get you to the bathroom. Because you're such a bumbling fool, you got to ask her even how to live life. Because you're just all, isn't that what they portray? And I never will forget when that one with Bundy. What was the name of that show? Oh my goodness! Of course, then they were all nuts. And then they came out with 40210 on Hollywood, or Beverly Hills, 90210 or whatever it was called, And first I thought, and I'm watching it, and I'm like, the parents are all just ignorant and they're fools, and you got these teenagers that know it all, and they're running everything, and that's the portrayal. But it's propaganda. We're being brainwashed. And we watch this, and we watch this, and we watch this.
It's been happening in the United States, the birth of a nation. It was a family.
Well,
It's been happening
with the
forever
blacks.
in the United States.
Okay, we'll talk about the
It's been happening
blacks.
forever. And
Anytime, and they went back and they proved it. The news would never show a black doing it. They always showed a black in handcuffs and walking. And the white person that would be with him wouldn't make it to the news. Oh no, can't show a white kid doing this. But we'll show and they portrayed the blacks as all a bunch of thieving idiots that are trying to steal from you all the time. I have been excited. These Facebook now, and they just put it on again. And they had these 3 black guys in their 20s. And there was a guy 100 years old was trying to get his wife into the car, and she could. And these 3 boys helped him load and he just thanked him and helped. Now we wouldn't have seen that. One thing we would have seen is them at gunpoint robbing the poor lady. And they even come across them. They say, yeah, they'll have a black person that will do something great. And I said, I wonder how many people will forward this on Facebook because they don't want to get, So there's the propaganda back then. We were told things about Martin Luther that weren't true. And it came out, we watched it now, and it was proven. They said, we're going to say he's a communist. They showed now behind the scenes the plan to get the people to turn against him. Because some of the whites in control didn't want blacks doing anything. So they were trying to stop it. But one thing I can say, Martin Luther King was not perfect. I wish to God I could have, now, and I was alive during this time, I was just a little boy. There's times that, and I know he's in heaven, and I'll get to talk to him again. But even now, there's times with all this stuff, I've thought, man, I wish I could just talk to Martin Luther King and get his idea on what's happening here. But I found out when I actually watched the true stuff that the man went to prayer for everything. There was even a time that they went to cross that bridge. And some of them with him were all ready to go. And they said he stopped. And he says, no, go home. And they're like, Reverend King, we're supposed to we got to do this. No. And the commentator was saying they felt that he heard something from God, that it wasn't the time. And so they went, but they would pray. And they would do. Now, with everything he did was right. No, he's a human. It's like anything I get up. If I was doing it, I would do things wrong, But propaganda, even back in those days. So I'm very careful what I watch. I mean, I don't watch much because I don't. Whatever they tell me, I'm sitting there. Well, how much of this is true? And they'll only do one little. Like they could take an excerpt of me up here saying, "Well, I wish the Congress, and not they would base my whole message on that I wanted the fire to come down and hit Congress."
Yeah.
That's what it is.
And it would go on, and everybody would look at that Pastor Mark. He was on NBC, and he just preached. And they could take parts of what I say, and edit it, so they could have my whole message be on that, and not anything else.
Always been like that.
So I'm very careful. Let's all stand.